Okay. Okay, welcome everyone to Outspoken, the June edition of the Publishing Triangle's monthly reading series, which we host here at the Bureau. My name is Greg Newton. I am the co-founder, along with my lovely partner, Donnie Jogum, of the Bureau of General Services Queer Division. Go ahead and clap, thank you. And I saw you wanting to clap, so we want you to. We're being helped out tonight by our volunteer, Elle Chappelle. Give it up for Elle. So the Bureau, for anyone who might be new, is an independent volunteer queer bookstore that Donnie and I founded in 2012, and that has been here at the LGBT Community Center since 2014. And as an all-volunteer independent queer bookstore, we are dependent on sales and donations to keep this machine going. So we strongly encourage you to buy books, especially by the authors reading tonight. But if you're able to make a donation, we appreciate it. And I'm going to pass around a bag with a little change in it and a Venmo QR code on the back if you'd like to give through Venmo. Anyone online can give through Venmo as well at BGSQD. So thank you for your support. As I'm sure you're well aware, this is a time of dire need for all queer organizations, art organizations, and if you're both queer and art, we need your help. So thank you. Our regular business hours are Wednesdays through Sundays from 1 to 7 p.m. and then we often stay open later when we have events such as this. And if you're not already on our email list, you can sign up for that at the back of the room, or for those of you watching online, at bgsqd.com. Could you silence that? Yes, bgsqd.com is our website, so you can sign up for the newsletter there. You can also check out upcoming events there. Before I welcome Rob Burns up from the Publishing Triangle, I just wanted to read a land acknowledgement. So the Bureau acknowledges that our organization operates on the unceded land of the Munsee Lenape. We encourage you to join the Bureau in signing up to make a monthly donation to the American Indian Community Houses Mannahatta Fund. The Mannahatta Fund, according to its website, is an invitation to all settlers and non-native people who wish to acknowledge the legacy of theft and genocide that comprise the history of New York City and the United States. And you can find out more at mannahattafund.org. The Bureau also recognizes Palestinian liberation as a fundamental part of our collective queer liberation. And we encourage you to read and take one of our free zines that are at the back of the room that address why we feel it is especially important for queer people to speak out in solidarity with Palestinians at this moment. And with that, I give the stage to Rob Burns from the Publishing Triangle. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Donnie. This is one of those beautiful New York nights, temperatures in the mid-70s, light breeze. It's great. So thank you for being here. Actually, you're probably glad to be here in the air conditioning. Yes, I'm Rob Burns, Publishing Triangle. For those of you who aren't aware, the Publishing Triangle has been around for 37 years now. We are there to uplift people in the publishing community, as well as writers, every tangential occupation, agents, you name it, we are there and we encourage your support. Excuse me. The Publishing Triangle is a nonprofit organization, although we are dealing with some IRS things right now, so I'm not going to ask for your money, but your membership is always welcome. $40 a year. Again, we are there for whenever we do anything, our annual awards ceremony, our annual awards for that matter, except for the submission fee, everything we do is free. Our events, our readings, everything we do is free. So we are a shoestring organization, and I encourage you to check us out at publishingtriangle.org and hopefully become a member. If not become a member, just get on our mailing list and find out all the things that we hopefully can bring to you. So let's get on with our show tonight, and including these readings, by the way. We've been doing them for a little over 2 years now, and we've had over 100 queer fiction, nonfiction, poet, every part of the rainbow has been in to read, and we're thrilled with that, and we intend to continue with that. And again, remember, these readings are also free. Okay, now on to the program. Alfred P. Doblin's debut book, Tales of the Lavender Twilight, is a collection of 11 excuse me, get this together, is a collection of 11 interrelated short stories focused on the lives and loves of a group of older gay men. Some funny, some poignant, but all are focused on the need to find community, whether it's with a lover or partner, close friends, or with the regulars at a local bar. Alfred has spent most of his professional career working as a journalist, and he's recognized by numerous state and national journalism associations, the Association of LGBTQ+ Journalists, and he's been nominated 4 times for the GLAAD Media Award for Outstanding Newspaper Columnist. I'm having a hard time here. So, please welcome Alfred P. Doblin.
Thank you. Gonna have to lower this a little.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is good. I think this is good. You didn't put in, and he's only 5'5". Gonna read one of the stories from Tales of the Lavender Twilight. Last year, Rob, I had the fun of reading for the first time here, and it was from a story that eventually became part of this collection. My publisher says you should always hold up the book. Hold up the book. It's 11 short stories. Some are funny, some are sad. What I'm going to read from tonight is one of the funnier stories. It's called Mr. Picky Comes to Town. Mr. Picky is based on a person in my life who is a bit of a Mr. Picky. Mr. Picky is, his name is Harry Duville. He is a theater critic. He's like one of the major theater critics in New York, if we still had major theater critics in New York. And he's known for not liking a lot of shows, which is why he has the moniker Mr. Picky. He has just panned a show. He's at the top of his universe. He is going on sabbatical, and he's going up into upstate New York to a place like somewhere in the Adirondacks, a mythical place, like Mohonk or something. And he's on the New York Thruway, and he sees signs for some of the hotels that used to be in the Catskills, which when I was a much younger person, I actually did work as a singer in the hotels in the Catskills. And he sees a sign for a mythical hotel called Green's. Used to be a hotel called Brown's, not that much of a stretch, I'm not always that creative. And I mean, we have a little more time. I'm gonna let you understand what happens when he decides to take this exit ramp to go into Green's, into a town called Hemlock. The street ended at a traffic circle. Inside the circle stood a flagpole and a statue of a man holding up a belt. The man was Henry Whitmore, the founder of the New York Tannery, once a leading producer of leather for belts, wallets, and shoes in this region. The hotel resorts killed the tannery business because of the attendant smells. Now, the hotels were gone as well, leaving the people of towns like Hemlock with nothing but the lingering chemical damage of tanneries and thousands of brined briskets. Behind the small traffic circle was a federal-style municipal building. There was no one walking on the sidewalks. Cars were parked diagonally on both sides of Main Street. Harry looked for another green sign at the traffic circle, but there was none. The circle fed into another road that was at a right angle to Main Street. Should he go left? Right. Some people choose to go both ways, he thought. There was never a singing and dancing scarecrow when you needed one. What Harry also needed was a restroom. He parked in front of the diner. It looked right out of the 50s. Lots of chrome, big plate glass windows. He could see inside a row of booths lined up against the windows. There was a long counter across from the booths. He walked inside. "A customer," a slim young man said. "Welcome. Would you like a booth or do you want to sit at the counter?" "A booth," Harry said. "Where's the restroom?" "Just past the counter. Make a left at the pictures of Carol Channing. You can't miss it. I will sit you up at the booth at the far end." "Thanks," Harry replied. The young man twirled around and headed back towards the counter. Harry chuckled to himself and walked toward the restroom, checking out the other diners as he went. Two men in the front booth were buried in their menus. Another set of men sat 2 booths down, and 3 other diners were loudly talking to the cook in the open kitchen behind the counter. Along the walls were pictures of Broadway leading ladies: Ethel Merman, Mary Martin, Barbara Cook, Angela Lansbury, Patti LuPone, Bernadette Peters. It was a shrine to the women of Broadway. Harry saw Carol Channing, went left. B. Arthur stared at him over the urinal. When he walked back into the main sitting area, he noticed the customers were all looking at him. Harry checked his shoes and his fly, all were in order, yet he was aware he was under scrutiny. "What are you talking about?" a very large woman of color said as she came from the kitchen. "Who did you say was here?" She saw Harry and pointed. "It's you, the evil one, Harry Duville. Why are you here? You want to close this place too?" "I don't know what you're talking about," Harry said nervously. The woman reminded him of a bigger, younger version of his maternal grandmother. "This is my diner. I call it Divas. It's dedicated to the women of the theater who thrive despite people like you who close theaters like Rudy Giuliani off his meds." "What are you talking about? I don't know you." "Shauna Capers." "Sorry?" "It was in 2002 revival of Hello, Dolly." "I remember you now," Harry said. "You were terrible, Miss Dolly." "You wrote that the leading lady is so bad that the show should be renamed Goodbye, Dolly, and the cast would be better served if they skipped the Harmonia Gardens for dinner and left the theater to go directly to Joe Allen's, where the poster of this flop would already be hung on the wall in the restaurant before the second act curtain." "You were bad. You were very bad." "I was poorly directed." "To an acting career, I would add." "You can't come into my diner and disrespect me. Leave!" Other diners stood up and shouted, "Leave! Leave! No picking! No picking!" "I played Lancelot in Camelot," one diner said. "You wrote, you wish I could have blended into the scenery so a stagehand would have removed me like a tree." Another man spoke. "I was Biff in Death of a Salesman, and you wrote that while a resemblance to Willie is not a bad idea in casting Willie Loman's son, Biff is supposed to be his son, not his older brother." Another man. "You closed my show." "Mine as well," from yet another. "You said if the Marconi Graham on the Titanic tapped like me, no one would rescue the ship and would never come," a lanky 30-year-old said. "What is this place?" Harry asked. "The island of misfit actors?" "You're in Hemlock, Mr. Picky. This used to be a great town that supported the trade of the greens. Lots of actors and stagehands worked here during the summers. Now it's a sanctuary for actors who had their careers destroyed by you." "You're kidding," Harry responded. "Do we look like we're kidding?" Shauna Capers said. "As Dolly Levi says, wave your little hand and whisper so long, dearie, get out of my diner." Harry realized he needed to go. He was sweating, which was uncharacteristic. He walked briskly out of the diner and got into his car. The diner patrons followed him outside. He could see people coming out of the shops and stores. He backed out too quickly and his car careened into the flagpole in the circle. The pole snapped and landed between the legs of the statue of Henry Whitmore. 2 policemen came running out of the municipal building, guns raised. As Harry was being led into the municipal building, one of the cops said, I played Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar, and you wrote that they crucified the wrong man. You were fabulous, Bernard, another cop said. Harry winced. After spending 2 hours in a holding room where he was forced to listen to the original cast albums of a musical version of Gone with the Wind and a Spanish language production of Annie, Harry was delighted to be brought into a small office. A short, squat man with a shock of black hair and long sideburns sat behind a desk. He looked like a compressed Elvis. Harry tried to think if he'd ever slammed him in a review. "So, the famous Harry Duville has come to Hemlock," the demi-Elvis said. "I'm Sheriff Franklin Shevin." Like in the musical Merrily We Roll Along? I hate musicals! I thought everyone here was an actor. Hemlock was a great place until they started coming. First one, then another. Then the next thing you knew, everywhere you turned around was an equity carrying down on his or her luck actor. You used to be able to walk across the town and say good morning. Now people are tapping, kicking, and singing. Everything's a frickin' production number. It makes me want to vomit. What's even worse, they recruited my daughter. Yes, sirree, my little Julia. I don't care whether you're gay, straight, black, white, brown. You can get it on with a flock of sheep. I say live and let live, but I draw the line at musical comedy. Musical comedy, it's an oxymoron, Mr. Duville. There's nothing funny about musicals. People singing and dancing, it's just not natural. I wanted to build a wall to keep them out. But do you know what the townspeople said after they finished singing and dancing the first production number from the music man at the town meeting when I suggested building a wall? They said it would be like a fourth wall, and they would break it. I don't even know what that meant, aside from the fact that it was pointless to build a wall. Untalented actors are like cockroaches. They keep coming and coming. Roaches. Have you thought about becoming a theater critic? Harry said, both horrified and impressed. Here's the deal, Mr. Duville, Sheriff Shepherd continued as he tapped his short, hairy fingers on the desk. We can play a legal dance here. You can get a lawyer. You can plead not guilty on the willful destruction of public property and act witness by many, I might add, but I will make sure that you are denied bail because you are a flight risk. Impound your car and call the New York City papers and make you the laughing stock of Manhattan. We can do each other a favor. Favor, Sheriff Shepherd? My daughter loves reading you. She thinks you're God, and she wants to be in the theater. I can't give her a good review. Did I ask you to? The sheriff snapped. She has a degree in theater. Her mother insisted that I let her go to Syracuse, and she got a useless degree in theater, but so far no jobs. So she's back at home with me and her mother. Every day she's at that goddamn piano singing about my white knight. It's like chalk on a board. She can't sing. She can sing. But it's those damn show tunes. Whatever happened to rock and roll? Whatever happened to Janis Joplin? Drugs. It was a rhetorical question, Duville. Here's the thing. Each year, these no-talented people of Hemlock stage a musical, thinking we'll come and they'll see the natural beauty of Hemlock, and someone will invest in greens and restore the property. And each year, they put on the worst goddamn show ever. Did I tell you I hate musicals? Yes, you did. How do I fit in? I want you to direct their show. I can't direct. They can't act, sing, or dance. It's a perfect match. You know, that's almost a line from Fiddler on the Roof. You're testing my patience, Mr. Duville. I hate musicals. I hate that musical the most. They did it here last year. Tevye was a gay little person named Carl from Ohio. That is a song, Summer in Ohio by Jason Robert Brown, doing summer stock with a gay midget named Carl playing Tevye and Porgy. Do you want me to reinstate the death penalty? Enough with the show tunes. If you direct the show, the charges are dropped. If you don't, I'll see that you are stuck in a cell for the next 4 weeks. I don't think I like this. What's the show? The Sound of Music. I hate the sound of music. Flattery, Mr. Duville, won't work with me. No, I really hate it. I love Rodgers and Hammerstein, just not that show. The show is scheduled to open April 12th. 4 weeks, we'll put you up in town. 4 weeks in a cell or 4 weeks directing The Sound of Music? It doesn't sound like there's much of a difference. I was supposed to be spending the next month at the North Mountain Lodge. We'll put you up here. There's a nice bed and breakfast in town. You won't mind the show tunes. Everybody hates me here. Everybody hates you everywhere. Well, that is true. They hate you because you destroyed their lives. Here's your chance to make it up to them. Make them better. Just one more thing. What now? You have to cast my daughter as the lead. Is Maria? Maria, Gladys, Pippi Longstocking, I don't care as long as she's the lead. Give them a show, make my daughter happy, and then you can be on your way. You're not giving me much of a choice. You're not in Manhattan, Duville. This is the real world. I'm in charge here. Welcome to Hemlock.
High bar, Alfred. Alfred, by the way, I will say, it's Tales of the Lavender Twilight, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and that book jacket will not be on the walls of Joe Allen. I know that's obscure. That's where flops, they put the pictures of flop musicals on the walls of Joe Allen. Okay. When you have to explain the joke, it's no longer. I've gotten to be an old man, I should know that by now. Next up, I actually had something else I was gonna say, but it'll come back to me and then it'll be irrelevant then. Our next up, we have Lauren Melissa Elsie, who's yes. LM's one of my favorites. Lauren Melissa is an autistic advocate and the author of 3 young adult novels, Boy at the Window, Gimmicks, and Glamour, and Streamline, which has been nominated for the 2025 Golden Crown Award for Young Adult. By the way, are you going to Albany this year?
For the ceremony, yeah.
I'm thinking of crashing. I know, it's like, I got approval that it's okay if boys like pop up, so. I know, please, I have more, nobody respects me, but at least the lesbian writers out there like me, so. Her work in writing and advocacy has crossed paths with New York University, the Yellow Ladybugs, Reframing Autism, Abelzine, Crippled Media, and more. She graduated with a bachelor's in creative writing from Scripps College, where she won the Crombie Allen Award for writing, and now lives and works as a librarian in New York. Please welcome Lauren Melissa Elsie.
I get to pretend to be tall because I'm wearing platforms. So I'm going to be reading from Streamline, which is nominated for the Golden Crown Award in Young Adult. Very excited. And I'll be reading from around the beginning of the book. So it follows a 17-year-old lesbian named Loon. Well, her name's Diana, but she goes by Loon online, and that's what's really important. And Loon spends all night playing a multiplayer online video game called Garlandia. And she also streams her live gameplay to a growing audience, but she never shows her face. She only mics up. And so Loon, offline, is labeled as autistic, and she's treated as an outcast. But online, she is able to access a potential future career as a pro gamer. So we're going to be reading as Loon begins, the scene begins mid-gaming session, mid-streaming session, as she chats with her friend in the game, but also with her live chat. And also, just for the purpose of this scene, please note that Loon is a cis woman and she identifies as a lesbian. Alrighty. In the game, I take a seat next to Taurus at the tavern that we're frequenting, and I notice that my chat starts going off topic. What do you think Loon looks like in real life? Asks Gargoyle Flame. Bet she's a hottie, says Dr. Wynn. Think those wings are real? Stop dreaming. Come on, guys, says one of my regulars, Loon Lover. Just watch the stream. None of them know about the box under my bed. Inside, there's an HD web camera. Mom bought it for me as a graduation present, but I still haven't taken the camera out of the package. I don't think I'm the hottie that Dr. Wynn is hoping for, and I definitely don't have fairy wings. But none of that should matter. I've made it this far on my gaming skills and my voice. But I can't deny that face camming is guaranteed to secure me more subscribers. More subscriptions means more income. Maybe a cam up is in the near future, I say into my mic, trying to come off as confident. In the game, Taurus crunches her brows in confusion, but then realizes I must be talking to my chat room. I say go for it, she says through her avatar. Taurus has been face camming while in-game streaming since before I even subscribed to her. Offline, she has purple hair, light green eyes, and clear skin that doesn't need an ounce of makeup. She's the full package for any viewer. I've never told her how I used to think I had a crush on her. Taurus is pretty, for sure, but I don't find her attractive anymore. At least not in the same way that I feel when I see that my favorite gamer, Noct, has started streaming. The thought of Taurus as a girlfriend now feels creepy, like dating a cousin. Still, if I looked like Taurus, then I'd already be cammed up. Then again, it's not as though my relationship with my appearance is the whole problem. I spend an hour on makeup each day, transforming myself into the person I feel I am on the inside, or at least as close as I can get. Whenever I showed a fragment of that true self at school, I'd get sneers from others. Barely muffled laughter wafted my way in the middle and high school halls, clogging my thoughts, staining my vision. I'll never forget the teddy bear backpack I begged Mom for when I was 12. A boy in my grade grabbed it as we passed each other between classes. He tugged it so hard that the strap broke. His friends laughed as they stalked away. I could have told a teacher. I could have chased them down and torn their own backpacks to smithereens. Instead, I threw the backpack in the garbage. My shoulder ached all day, but I never said a word. Back then, I thought that maybe I was the wrong one. I should have known not to wear something like that, right? My avatar in Garlandia isn't supposed to exist offline. I've glanced at other streamers that cam up. There are girls that wear makeup and girls who don't. Girls in pajamas and girls in low-cut tank tops. Some streamers have complex backdrops and gorgeous walls full of posters. I've also seen gamers lounging in bed with a controller in their lap. There are those who cam up, those who mic up, and those who do none of the above. Like the renowned Noct. She never cams or mics up, but she's known as the queen of Garlandia. With only her gaming skills, she's amassed over 1 million followers. There's gotta be a reason Loon never shows her face. A first-time chatter named Jack of All Blades pops up. Other than it being her own personal choice, quips back Loon Lover. More like she's probably a dude. Jack, I say into the mic, I think it's time for you to go. I know that it's best to ignore Jack of All Blades, but I can't stand his attitude. This is my stream. No matter my gender, I belong here as much as everyone else. I'm a girl, I say. Just because you say you're a girl, he types, that doesn't make you a girl. My smartwatch picks up the tension in my muscles. the racing of my heart. My avatar clenches her fists in the game as I grit my teeth. Transphobia is not permitted in the Looniverse, I say. Loon Lover chimes in, Jack, I reported you for hate. The report notification pops up on my screen and relief washes over me. Whenever a report is logged, Streamline clears streamers to kick a viewer from their chat. I accept the offer, and Jack disappears into thin air. Good riddance, I mutter under my breath. My head is reeling from jumping between my audience and in-game conversations. While I want to hang out with Taurus, I think it's best to game alone for the time being. This way, I can clear my mind. I dare another glance at the chat, though, and a quiver of anxiety shudders through my chest. I don't know if that was transphobia, Dr. Wynn says. I didn't expect this to become a soapbox stream, adds Gargoyle's Wing. Everything is offensive nowadays. Glad that guy is gone, though. My temples are throbbing. I didn't sign on today to play moderator. I may be dedicated to my streaming schedule, but this feels like more than I can handle tonight. I'm gonna take a break, I say into my mic before clicking the end stream button. A notification pops up asking if I'd like to post a recording of the stream to my Streamline platform. Hell no. I pause the game and shut my eyes. Jack of all blades ruined everything. My pulse is going haywire. Even though my night only just started, I feel ready to climb back into bed. But there's a webcam hiding under that same bed. If only I could get over myself and cam up, none of this would have happened. I doubt Taurus took camming up this seriously. She probably smiled the first time she showed her face. I'm exhausted. The clock on my monitor reads 11:30 p.m. I should restart the stream, but I don't want to talk anymore. Playing doesn't even sound fun. I glance over Streamline and check the panel of streamers online. And like a warm blanket tossed over my shoulders, there's a green circle next to Nox's name. I navigate to her stream and cozy up, cross-legged in my chair. She has over 100,000 subscribers on Streamline, not to mention a follower count in the millions. Today, her chat room is stuffed with 900 viewers. I've been following her since I started playing, back when I had to spend my allowance to afford a subscription to her platform. Her avatar glides through the Imperial City. Other players step aside to let her pass. While I can't see her offline face or hear her voice, she captures all my attention. Her raven hair cascades past pale elf ears and falls to her ankles, and a black gown flows behind her in a magnificent trail. A simple titanium butterfly necklace glints between her collarbones. She's the most beautiful person I've ever seen. If elves were people, that is. My heart beats faster as her avatar delicately draws a vial from her pocket. Her hand hovers over the amethyst liquid. The bottle begins to glow as she casts a secret spell. Seconds later, a lavender haze billows into the street. Then, a kaleidoscope of butterflies flutters forth, captivating the players and viewers alike. I've never seen a spell like this, but Noct is known for turning the impossible into magic. I hug my arms against my chest. The butterflies glimmer so vividly, I feel that one could emerge from my monitor and land on my nose. She's chosen a playlist of piano classics, and as the music drifts through my headphones, I find myself wondering why I let Jack of all blades get to me. The webcam doesn't matter. It's just me and Noct in a sea of butterflies. Garlandia can transform any pain into nothing but the breeze.
Laura Melissa Elsie, thank you so much. That's amazing. We are going to be taking a summer break from OUTspoken. I think we'll be back, I believe it's September 15th. I have to double check the date. And we already have like 6 writers, which means I've already gone over the cap that Greg and Donnie have given me. But they're all Michelle Carlsberg, clients, so I have to do it. But one thing I'd like, and people watch your email on Thursday, July 31st, Thursday, July 31st, we're going to do a queer poetry reading. The Publishing Triangle Tossos, The Other Side of Silence, which is the city's oldest continually performing queer theater company, 51 years and counting. And my day job, the East Midtown Partnership, are going to put together this night of poetry at the Society of Illustrators at 12080 63rd Street on the Upper East Side. So watch, like I said, watch your calendars, and please join us. It'll be free, and actually there'll even be an open bar. So, I mean, it's like double free. So our next reader, lots of confusion. I talked to LM, and I talked to Sarah Levine at the Rainbow Book Fair. They were there representing Bold Strokes Books, my publisher, my most recent publisher, at least, by the way, too. And then I got busy, and a month went by or something, and I'm like, oh, I got to get serious about locking people in. And I went through all the the email addresses I collected at the Publishing Triangle table at Rainbow Book Fair, and I wrote to Sarah Levine, and I was like, "Are we good for June 25th?" And it took a few days, and she wrote back, and she's like, "I'm not the Sarah Levine you're looking for." So I managed out of 24 names. I got 2 Sarah Levines, and I got the wrong one, but fortunately the right Sarah Levine is here tonight. Sarah G. Levine is a high school teacher of literature and creative writing in Queens. Originally from a small seaside town in Massachusetts, she now lives in Brooklyn with her girlfriend, where she tends to many houseplants. I got you, by the way, girl. Oh, I got 35 pots now out of my deck out in Jersey City. Yeah, everyone can come over later. And she dreams of the ocean. Emma by the Sea is her first novel. Let me add a little extra that I got from going to her website. She graduated from the University of Rochester, cum laude, with a Bachelor in Arts. I mentioned this in Columbia, one other school. I mentioned the University of Rochester because I grew up in Rochester. I was there 36 years. She's too young. We did not, cross over. But, she got that little, like Georgia Beers, like me, you got a little Rochester in you. So, you know what a garbage plate is without us having to explain. Please welcome Sarah G. Levine.
I am tall, but I'm going to sit down just to mix it up a little bit. This is my first book, Emma by the Sea. It is based off of Emma by Jane Austen. I don't know, can everyone hear me? Move this down a little bit, okay. And just to set the scene, I'm going to be reading from the beginning of the book, but not the very beginning of the book, early on in the book. So my retelling of Emma takes place in a very wealthy area of Massachusetts on the coast, northern Massachusetts. And it's kind of reimagined as Emma as a 25-year-old. She lives at home with her father, who is suffering from early onset dementia, and she's kind of put her life on hold to take care of him. And they have a neighbor named Georgia, who is older and helps Emma out a lot. And then kind of the catalyst for the story of the novel is that Georgia's cousin's daughter, who's 17 and a troublemaker, comes to stay. And Emma kind of takes Cora under her wing, but really Cora's the one taking Emma under her wing, so it's kind of figuring out the relationship. So what I'm going to be reading from is a scene from, about a quarter of the way through the novel. It was mornings like this, perfect summer mornings, mornings that belonged to a postcard or in a painting, that made her glad she lived here. The endless warm promise of a New England summer day, the eternal beauty it held. She closed her eyes, breathed in the salt air, and felt the heating sun on her face before she continued with her run. By the time she reached the neck again, people were drinking coffee on their porches or headed down to the beach, loaded with umbrellas and beach chairs, calling for their kids to stay on the sidewalk. Georgia and Johnny were outside when she got back home. Emma was covered in sweat and gasped for breath as she slowed to a walk. Georgia was in her pajamas, shorts and a baggy t-shirt, her hair tossed up in a bun and glasses on. Emma couldn't help but notice it made her look younger and softer. A frisson of self-consciousness zipped through her at the sweaty state she was in. "Morning, Em," Georgia called as Emma walked past her front gate and waved Emma over. Johnny wagged his fluffy tail as Emma approached the fence that lined Georgia's property. Although their yards bordered, Hartfield and Georgia's home sat across Highbury Lane from each other. "How was your run?" "Fine," Emma gasped as she got her breath. "Went up to the fort. Water looks gorgeous this morning." Georgia hummed her agreement, taking a sip of her coffee. Emma reached back over the fence and bent down to pat Johnny's flat head, scratching him under the chin until his eyes closed, a doggy smile on his snout. "Your hand is going to be covered in fur," Georgia noted. "Worth it," Emma replied, and they shared a smile as she straightened up, and Johnny walked off to go sniff another corner of his lawn. Emma's hand was indeed covered in fur, but she wiped it on her running shorts, then used her t-shirt to mop some sweat off her face. When she lowered the t-shirt, she thought she saw Georgia's eyes flit away from her stomach. "Cora's still sleeping?" "Oh yeah," Georgia replied with a flippant wave of her hand. "I don't expect her to surface until noon. Eleni says she sleeps like the dead on weekends." "She's got some interesting ideas about life," Emma remarked. She rested her hands on her hips and remembered their conversation about Cora's love life from a few days ago. Georgia shook her head ruefully and chuckled. "She takes after her mom. She's as much as she'd hate to admit it, Eleni was similar when they were growing up, had a different boyfriend every few months until she met her husband when they were 20. Probably why she's so hard on her," Emma said, "sees too much of herself in her kid." Georgia smiled at her and said, "There's that psych degree." Emma rolled her eyes and changed the subject. "Hey, beach in a bit? I'm gonna rinse off and wake Dad, but maybe around 11:30, wanna head down?" "Sure, I've got some stuff to do, but we'll meet you down there." She entered the house through the back way. Hattie was always yelling at her for tracking dirt through the foyer, and poured herself a big glass of water from the fridge. She checked the oven clock, it read 9:05, and set up a pot of coffee to brew. She decided that if her dad wasn't up by 9:30, she'd check on him. Her dad used to be up with the sun. He'd take these long, winding runs with her on the weekends when she was home, but his meds made him sleepy now, and the risk of him getting lost on a run, forgetting where he was and how to get home, had become too great in the last year. She missed those times when their breathing and strides synced up, the feeling of connection bonding her to her father without either of them having to speak. These days, she felt like she could feel him slipping through her fingers every minute, like sand through an hourglass. She took her coffee and breakfast of yogurt, granola, and protein powder out to the patio and sat down, scrolling aimlessly through her phone between sips. Her old friends posted about brunches and parties and work achievements. A few older girls she knew from the crew team posted engagement photos, their left hands conspicuously visible on their fiancés' buff chests, as their faces shining with picture-perfect happiness through the screen. She knew comparing herself to others was the devil's way, but it was hard not to see her stagnation and harsh relief when she saw those pictures. Hard not to resent her father, just a little bit. He joined her at 9:40 to her relief, and they enjoyed a mostly silent, leisurely morning together, making comments about the news and the goings-on of the town occasionally. At 11, Emma saw a very tousled Cora emerge into Georgia's yard, coffee mug in hand. She gave Emma a sleepy wave before setting her own ocean-facing chair, Johnny curled at her feet. For a moment, everything felt peaceful and normal. Emma leaned back in her chair, lowered her eyelids, and stared into the red depths behind them. She could almost pretend in her mind that she was visiting for a summer weekend from her life in Boston or New York or somewhere else, but her father's mind wasn't fading. Even that her mother was in the kitchen, just about to emerge to scold them for being lazy on a beach day. Her mom had been ravenous for beach season. She'd spent every second possible soaking up the sand and surf, while she could in the brief span between cold and rainy seasons. If Emma could just keep her eyes closed for a moment longer, she might be able to inhabit this space for the rest of time. Then Johnny barked at some noise in the distance, and the illusion was ruined. She was disoriented by a wave of sadness that dragged her under for a moment before a familiar, soothing voice said, "Hey." Emma looked over, and there was Georgia with a smile on her full lips as she leaned against the fence in her white linen beach tunic. The hint of her pink and orange color-blocked one piece, just visible through the fabric, and a wide-brimmed straw hat perched on her head. Emma returned her smile, head still resting against her chair as she squinted at the sun shining in her eyes. "Hey," she replied. "Are you going to lounge there all day, or are we going to the beach?" Georgia scolded good-naturedly.
Sarah G. Levine, thank you. Before we get to our last reader, I know it's like a very abbreviated night tonight, but it's so hot. I think everyone just wants to go home. I was actually on a work call today, and it's like, I didn't realize that where he was. It was a Zoom thing, of course, because it's 2025, and we're all like, all the New York people are on, and we're all like, can barely move, and the guy's like, "Oh, is it bad there?" He's somewhere in the UK or something. He thinks, he was like complaining it's too cold and damp. But before I get to our last reader, first let me thank everyone. I'll thank you again too. But remember to if you're not on our mailing list, please get on our mailing list. We don't charge you a dime to be a part of the Publishing Triangle. We just want to spread the word about queer publishing, queer writers, queer publishing events, what's going on with agents, with editors, with writers, with publishing. We just want to bring you all into the fold. So, if you want to become a member for $40 a year, that's like icing on the cake. But in the meantime, don't feel like you have to. Email publishingtriangle@gmail.org. or gmail.com. That's the easiest one. And I can get you on the list right away. And that way you'll know about things like our poetry reading on July 31st, which is going to be a fantastic event. If you've ever been to the Society of Illustrators, and I'm making the guess none of you have, but the third floor space is fabulous. Yeah, you have to hike up to the third floor, but once you're up there, you're having cocktails, and by the way, free cocktails, okay? Under an original Norman Rockwell with an outdoor space, and it's just beautiful. So please be part of our Publishing Triangle family. And that goes for you online too, not just you, Vincent, but the rest of you. Okay. And that brings us to our last writer. And by the way, I really appreciate our last writer, who I'm about to introduce. He actually sent me pronunciations for every step of the way with his name, which I might have been there, but I'm always glad to not trip over it. So, Vincent, now I'm going to screw it up and say phonetically. It's sitting there in front of me. Vincent Trauber-Mies has just published his 11th work of LGBTQ plus fiction. It's 10 novels and 1 book of short stories. All his books feature characters diverse in sexual orientation, gender identity, and cultural background. Many of his books, like Iguana, just published in May, are set in foreign countries. And tonight he'll be reading for us from Iguana. Please welcome are you in California right now, right?
Yes.
Please welcome from somewhere in California right now, Vincent Trauber-Mies.
Do we just have?
Oh, just to be able to see him.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, first I want to thank the Bureau and the Publishing Triangle for having me here remotely. Um, uh, can can you see me? This is
Oh, yeah.
okay. So, as Rob said, I'm going to be reading from my novel Iguana. And oh, how Hi. Yeah, I've only been able to see the reader so far, so nice to see everybody else. Um, yes, this novel takes place in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The protagonist is Dawson Wozniak, who has moved to Puerto Vallarta from Los Angeles after some trauma in his life. And he's ready for a new life and new adventures. This is the book. I don't know if the Bureau is able to get any copies, but
Yes.
Yes.
great. Okay. Uh, so let me jump into it. Um, the moment I reached the Malecon, the ocean in the sky, after building for days, finally found a rift and poured down in sheets. People scurried in all directions as if a bomb had gone off, rushing to escape the sudden downpour. On a side street, I found cover under a plexiglass awning, jutting out above the entrance of an art gallery. Rain pelted the awning with a deafening racket, and in a matter of minutes, water cascaded down the hill, filling the streets to the curb. I imagined the accumulating river reaching a flood stage that it could carry me along with everything else in its path out to the sea. Lightning tore across the sky and thunder shook the buildings around me. It was everything I'd been told to expect by long-term residents. Since moving to my Mexican place in January, the weather had been had been mild and predictable. Now I feared for my life. I enjoyed the rush, though, the power of the pounding rain, the streets filling to the brim, the flashes of lightning and rumbling thunder. It was a different kind of show from the placid sunsets, fury and bravado, angry gods. A part of me wished I was back in the apartment, safely watching from the sofa with the sliding doors open. But another part of me loved being in the middle of it. I nixed the taxi idea. I would rough it, climb the hill in a thunderstorm just to prove that I could. I ventured out from the shelter, and the awning run-up immediately pounded my head and ran down my back. Before I had gone half a block, I was soaked. I turned up my street where a swath of light in a block ahead spilled from the little store I had visited earlier, both lighting up the sidewalk and like a beacon and telling me the power was still on. I slowed down as I passed the store, gazing into the dryness, the coziness, the refuge, hoping the clerk would smile, beckon me in from the rain. He might wink at me and call me güero, as he usually did. We could banter a few minutes until the rain let up. But the man sat on a high stool, hunched over, entranced by the small screen where tiny figures ran around a green field in uniforms, kicking a ball. His face was bathed in blue light, and there was no world outside the circle of luminescence. I stood a moment at the entrance and started to raise my hand to get the man's attention, but moved on instead. A short distance from the entrance to my building, a rogue flash of lightning lit up the road and highlighted what looked like a marble in the gutter. I moved closer and saw the eyes of the iguana just below the tree where I had seen it earlier. It lay on a bed of leaves bunched up against a fallen branch in the gutter. The water rushed by the beast as if it was enjoying a swim, though it remained still. Perhaps it didn't have the strength to move out of the strong flow and was biding its time until the rain subsided. The eyes seemed to follow my movement, making it hard for me to walk on by. I grabbed the branch of a branch the length of a broom and put it in front of the animal's clawed feet. in hopes it might grab on so I could pull it out of the torrent. The iguana remained immobile. "Come on, little buddy," I shouted. The rain streamed down, getting in my eyes and nearly blinding me. I touched the branch to the clawed feet, and when there was no reaction, I nudged it. Moving closer, I poked the beast gently in its side. Nothing. "Grab on, I'm trying to save you." I poked it again. No reaction. With my heart pounding, I bent down close enough to touch the iguana, slowly moving my hand to the torso, ready to snap it back if there was any sign of life. I touched the scaly skin, stroked it, running my hand along the cool body as the water rushed over it. In a desperate move, I grabbed the end of the long tail and pulled. Nada. I fell back and sat on the pavement, putting my head on my knees, not wanting to admit that my new friend was dead. My body shook with sadness, and I sat a long time as if at a wake, the water rushing by me, tears mixing with the rain running down my face, all the loss I'd suffered in recent years overwhelming me. I don't know how long I sat there, long enough for my backside to go numb, but I finally rose to my feet and entered the building. I sloshed across the empty lobby, following a trail of towels someone had put down to absorb the water. The elevator was waiting for me, as were the mosquitoes. Darting here and there in a frenzy, I danced about and left a pool of water on the elevator floor, which I felt guilty about. I paused outside my door and quickly glanced around the empty hallway. Deciding to save my apartment from my drenched clothes, I took off my sandals and all my clothes, even my underwear, and bundled them in one hand as I slipped the key into the lock with the other. It felt daring and bold to be naked in the hall, the new me. A noise in the stairwell down the level made me rush inside and hurriedly close the door. After dumping my soggy clothes in the kitchen sink, I went into the bedroom, glancing at my feet covered with bits of grass, debris, and God knows what else. I turned on the shower, anxious to wash off the encounter with the iguana and the fetid water that splashed my legs. Just as I was about to step in the stall, there was a knock on the door. My first thought was that someone had traced the puddle in the elevator to me and came to complain about it. I wrapped a towel around my waist and went to the door. It took me a second to recognize Ivan, who instead of his daily duds of jeans and green company logo polo shirt, wore a sleeveless white t-shirt revealing nicely muscular arms. His baggy shorts showed his thin but hairy legs. The casual clothes transformed him into yet another personality, the sultry handyman appearing at my door. I'm so sorry about the water in the elevator," I blurted out. "I was going to clean it up." "What?" he said. "Not about that." His piercing look ruffled me. "Wait, what are you doing here? You already worked a full day." "Administration asked me to go around and check all the apartments for leaks. Sorry, I catch you just out of the shower." No, I'm wet from the rain. I'm going into the shower now." I can come back then." He ran a hand through his longish black hair, now curly and wild from the humidity, a nervous gesture that brought his hand to the back of his neck and exposed a tuft of thick black armpit hair. "Well, if you have other apartments to check, actually, yours is the last." "Well, come in then. I haven't noticed any leaks, but really haven't had a chance to check." He looked down at the wet footprints and drips on the wood floor. "Do you walk home in this storm, Senior Dawson?" he said with a wrinkled brow. I was tired of being addressed as Senor. It made me feel old. My recent 40th birthday had been traumatic, and it made it sound like he was subservient to me. It was his job, not his station in life. "Yes, crazy, huh? This is something to worry. Good thing you make it home okay." His eyes softened. I was stunned by the new development, Yvonne's concern for me. We stood uncomfortably in the hallway, both staring at the wet floor. It seemed he was waiting for me to say or do something. All right, I'll go take the shower and you check for leaks. Under the warm and gentle water of the shower, a stark contrast from the cold, pounding rain, I chuckled at how fast the sadness about the iguana had dissipated. Nothing like a sexual crackle in the air to change one's mood. When Yvonne called to me, I wasn't sure if it was real or part of a fantasy. Senor Dawson. He stood in the bedroom at the threshold of the bathroom door. I had neglected to close it, when there was typically no need, as I was always in the apartment alone. I opened the glass shower door and stuck my head out. Yvonne, please. No, senor, just Dawson. He averted his eyes as if talking to someone in the bedroom. Do you have a mop? I find some leaks by the windows in the dining room. I rubbed a soapy hand down my torso, reveling reveling in the fact I was naked while Yvonne was just a few feet away. There's one in the laundry room. Give me a minute, I'll help you. I quickly rinsed off, exited the shower, and put on some gym shorts. Entering the living room, I came up behind Yvonne as he mopped and gazed at his shoulder and back muscles working under his shirt. He had the calves of a long-distance runner. Up close, he gave off a tangy, musky odor from his efforts of going all over the building, doing damage control on the hot, humid night. Yvonne, you don't have to do that. He stopped and leaned a little on the mop. I don't mind. I reached for the wooden handle. You must be tired after a full day of work, and now you've checked on all the residents. At that moment, it hit me. There was no logic to leaving my apartment for last, as it was in the middle of the building. I am fine, he said. I tried to pull the mop handle, but he gripped it tightly. We stood close, and he looked in my eyes for the first time since he had arrived at the door. Please, I said, pulling the mop toward me. As you wish. He let go, but kept eye contact. I should probably go and take a shower like you. I am full of sweat. I pointed to the bedroom and the shower within. Feel free. No, I mean, I'm staying in one of the empty units so I can make the rounds again in a few hours if the storm continues. Why not take a shower here if you don't have to do anything for a while? I playfully swabbed the mop over his sneakers. I couldn't. It wouldn't be. You could. What's stopping you? I can lend you a clean t-shirt and shorts. It felt daring to be insisting, and a break from my usual lack of spontaneity. Something in his eyes encouraged me. Yvonne sighed and dropped his shoulders. He let me lead him to the bathroom as if he was only following orders. Para servirle. I gave him a towel. Gracias, he said, as he closed the door.
Vincent Meese, thank you so much. Ken, hey, look, that is our writers for tonight. Could you please give it up one more time for Albert P. Doblin, Lauren Melissa Elsie, Sarah P. Levine, Vincent Prover. Before I let the microphone go, I want to remind you again of we have that free queer poetry reading. It will be a complete rainbow of queer poets on Thursday, July 31st, just 5 weeks. What is that? 5 weeks and 1 day? Yeah, whatever. You know. But to know about it, you're gonna have to be on a mailing list. So send your email. Don't count on my memory, okay? I'm an old man. Send your email to publishingtriangle@gmail.com, and I will make sure, and that goes for those of you out there too. We'll get you on the mailing list, and you will know about that and future readings and future events. Everything we do is free, but you know, art is not totally free. Books are part of art, of course. The Bureau of General Services Queer Division is part of books, and they're a nonprofit. And the books you buy, you're gonna have to pay tax on. That's economics. But you can be a sustaining supporter of the Bureau for $10 a month, $50 a month, name your price. You'll never miss it. And every month you will be helping to sustain this, and it's tax deductible, by the way. So you can talk to Greg, Donnie, anyone about how that happens. I do encourage that. I do it. It's not just the right thing to do. It feels good. and then you get to be smart. And get to go like this. So, you know what? The one thing I forgot to do, and I swear I'm wrapping up now in 10 seconds. Happy Pride, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Vincent.